Most people have already heard of Pareto's 80-20 rule, that 80% of the time you wear only 20% of the clothes you own, that 80% of the traffic is carried by only 20% of the roads, that 80% of your income comes from only 20% of your customers. In other words, if you have 100 customers, then each of that 20 customers will provide 16 times worth of revenue than any of the 80. Now don't get focused on the exact numbers in math. The key takeaway here is that majority of effects come from minority of causes. But what you'll learn today is how to quantumly improve your productivity. You'll learn the 3 Ds and most importantly, the magic of Pareto's 80-20 principle when you dig into its infinite layers. The first step is to determine the 20% of activities that matter, given all possible activities you already do. Then look at the other 80% and think about all the unproductive stuff you do. Because the first D is delete. Steve Jobs said, "I'm as proud of what we don't do as I am of what we do." So come up with a give-up list of what you're willing to sacrifice for success. And yes, I know, this is not easy. I personally gave up video games. I used to be addicted to them and spend mindless hours engaged in them. I also gave up watching the news because it was mostly negative, and anything important I'll often hear from family and friends anyways. And if you can't delete them completely, then at least reduce them. For me, I gave up watching sports during the main season, just occasionally watching highlights, and became a fan just during playoffs. And I gave up much, much more. The second D is delegate. In other words, get someone else to do it. Some people are egotistical and want to do everything. Sometimes, delegation requires humility and a recognition that you are not the only competent person in your organization or family. Hire people if you can. Delegate as many necessary activities that you can afford below your hourly rate. For example, if you make $50 an hour and it takes you an hour to mow the lawn, then consider hiring someone to do it for $20 while you go to work. Because you should really aim to only be doing activities in your 20%, where you get a 16 times ROI. The third D is to double down. Now this is where the magic is, that only a handful of people are aware of. Doing this will give you a whopping 256 times ROI. Instead of focusing on only the 20% that produces high results, try to focus on only the 4% that produces enormous results. Then if that's not enough, double down again and start getting an insane 4,096 times ROI. Like if you had 1,000 employees, focus your attention on the 8 who are going to give you a 4,096 to 1 return. They'll be generating about 51% of your revenue. So love them, take care of them, because believe me, you don't want them quitting. Now the reality is, the tasks often get harder and harder the closer you get to the right of the graph, and the left side can get distracting. For example, 80% of your employee complaints will come from just 20% of the people, and oftentimes they won't be the same 20% who's generating the 80% of your income, who you should really be devoting more attention to. So focus on the small that matters. Even Dr. Oz says, focus on the few vital functions. When someone is injured, no matter how many bones are sticking out, paramedics are trained to check the most important functions first. When Dr. Oz performs surgery, he walks in only during the most important and crucial part, which he has mastered to perfection. He has a team to do everything else, and that's why he earns the big bucks. So what do these famous people have in common? The answer, they are all super achievers. Now there are a lot of things these people are clueless about, but they are masters at things that produce insane results. The great news is that if you follow the 3 Ds, then you can be too. Of course, there are endless applications of leveraging Pareto's principle beyond the scope of this video. I urge you to spend some time finding other applications of it throughout your day-to-day life. But remember, our time on this planet is limited, and time is the most precious thing we have. By leveraging the true power of Pareto's 80-20 principle, you'll be able to achieve success and in the long run, spend more time doing the things you truly love.